Live.
Isn't that funny? It always says preparing, but I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. So, how much fun is that? I think
It's
we are.
preparing to be live, but it's actually live.
Well, there you go. If you can see it, then that's all that matters.
Oh,
So,
I don't see it. Now I do. But
all right, there
I
you go.
know
So
as
we,
soon as
you were
and
right.
the title is amazing. I don't remember what the title is.
We'll have to figure
Dream
out how to get
via
that.
something.
Yeah,
We'll change it.
it's true. All right. So, hey, everybody, Wednesday again. We're getting closer and closer to our designated start time. And yeah, I'm Sheila Williams. I'm a mindset coach based out of Alberta, Canada. And I'm here with my lovely companion to offer some coaching wisdom, some mindset advice, or maybe just talking about what kind of crazy crap we're getting up to. So, Danay, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Danay Novoa. I am an intuitive coach and channel. My background is in psychology. I got a PhD in the research side of psychology, so I'm not a therapist, just in case you were wondering. I am somebody that just loves learning about how people work and how their minds think. And I transitioned into doing my own work as an intuitive coach and channel. And I have other things that I look forward to sharing about, maybe on these calls in the future. Who knows? But either
That
way,
would be amazing.
yeah. So, what do we want to talk about today, Sheila?
Well, it is our third call that we've done as a weekly call. We used to do these calls a couple of years ago, a little bit more regularly. And so we're definitely not calling it a podcast, but we do want to bring up things that we mull about, that we talk about. And yesterday we had a really good conversation about how, when you express something about how you're feeling or what's going on with you, and you think that when you're sharing it that people are receiving it in the way that you're talking about, and it turns out that maybe they don't. And the conversation we had, I think, was valuable because it was such a good reminder that when people hear what you say, all they ever have to use to interpret what you're saying is their own experience. And so they're always going to kind of hear it through a filter of how they can identify with it. And it's not going to be the same. We absolutely can't assume that it's the same. And yeah, we want to just bring it up today. So if you join us live, feel free to drop comments. If you're listening to the replay, we'd still love to hear from you. Just what experience do you have when you thought you were sharing something really profound and that was important? And then it turned out that the other person maybe brushed it off or made different assumptions. And it wasn't because they didn't care, it was because they really didn't know what you were expressing. So, Denai, have you had any kind of experience with that? I have my own
Never.
story to share, but we'll let you. I'll let you start.
Never. It's like every day. Well, we all wear glasses. I mean, it looks like on this call I am the only one wearing glasses, but in life we all wear glasses. Just these lenses that we look at life in. And it's entertaining because it really doesn't matter what somebody says, like you, the person, or you hearing it. Doesn't really matter what's said. It's all how it's received because it's received through the person, like you said, the person's experiences, the filters. I like to look at them as lenses because, like, I can take off my glasses and see things differently. Not well, but differently. And I can also put them go on and go, oh my God, things look sharper and clearer. But when we have our own set of biases, which is everybody has them, everything passes through that. And then it gets mishmashed and interpreted in the way that makes sense to the person. And they go, oh, that's what the person said. It's not. But you do your best to listen. And I think that's the key. A lot of people don't listen. They're already in their head going, what am I going to say next? Instead of
Mhm.
actually listening to what the person is saying. And I've been guilty of that. So when I'm trying to process the information that's being said to me, I'll say, "Oh my God, I could then say this," and I go, "Okay, back up. Like, pay attention because you only heard the first two phrases that they said, and they're still talking." So sometimes I will tell somebody, "Hey, I left." meaning I was listening to you intently and you said something and my thoughts went all the way over here and I played over here and I came back and I went, uh-oh. So some people will have a term for that. And people want to call it certain things. It's just being distracted in a variety of ways by all the things that we hold on to on a regular basis. So when looking at how we communicate feelings, that has a lot of energy charge to begin with, because if, and it good or bad or positive or negative, doesn't matter. When you're feeling something, you're emitting like an energetic charge as you're talking about it. People will notice distinctly when somebody's talking about something and they're very angry about it, or they feel very excited about it, or they're very passionate about it. You'll see it, whatever the thing is. So they're taking in that sensory information at the same time as trying to listen to what's being said while trying to process what they're going to reply. And it's like, well, take it in. And even if there's a lull in the conversation, which is not a problem, silence is okay. This is something I tell myself. Because people need time to take in and sort of digest what you've said, especially if it's very important. And when we're not taking that time, we're just shooting with what we know is there. So listening and processing, and then sharing is very important, because it's going to matter what's said and how you interpret it. But if you're not even listening to start, your filters are already putting you way off base on what the actual message is.
Well, I was going to make a joke, that I wasn't listening, but it's true. Just while you were talking about that, my brain grabbed onto a whole other topic that I've been thinking about earlier, moved it around a little bit, went, oh, wait a second, I'm doing something else right now. So it is pretty fun when you're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because our brains really do. I almost think they tire out. They all, like, almost the neurons get to that saturation point and it needs to like tag team other brain cells, so that, like, okay, wait a second, I need to pause. Okay, we're back. I don't know if that's how it works. You're the one with the psychology degree, but sorry, the PhD. But what's interesting, going back to where you really first started about using the word lens, I said filter because I always picture like camera filters, how the different color hues can combine and make something totally different. But I like that analogy of the lens, because when I was young, I did wear glasses, and I always thought the big machine that they put in front of me was so cool because it could just like drop down different lenses. And if you have the wrong ones or too many, it can really make things look completely different. And so nothing physically outside of your eyes has changed, but how your brain perceives it is completely, off base. So it is pretty interesting just how much impact it does make. And when we were talking about it, I was saying how people might even mean to be listening. And I like your point again that you brought up about the active listening, of how much are you fully present, just being with the person and what they're sharing, as opposed to, very often say in work meetings, you're always trying to jump ahead to what you might respond, or what will sound like a good answer, or maybe to what you want to talk about when it's your turn. And so there are so many different situations when it's hard to have that active listening skill. But even just through moments when you are, and you really are doing your best to be present, to listen, to understand, to empathize, you're still going to run up against the limitation of your own experience. An example that I brought up when we were chatting was, I've always lived in winter climates. And so the winters are long, the roads are often covered with ice and snow, the sidewalks, it's a reality of how to move around for about 5 months of the year. And I have developed over the years an aversion to driving on like black ice, where I don't trust that the vehicle is going to stop. And that probably about 10 plus years ago, I was having to commute every day. And there was an expectation that, of course, you're going to come to work. This is where you live, you come to work. no matter what the driving conditions. And, there'd be freezing rain overnight or maybe a snowstorm. And I found it really challenging because it was almost that point of, I'm going to die. I don't want to die going to this job. you know, it's definitely not worth my life trying to make it in for this job. Nothing against the company, but I knew that it was not. It was very dominant in my mind that I was probably going to die driving into work. I didn't, just in case, you weren't sure, but
Wow.
it really got into my head. And so there have been times since when the road conditions dictate whether I do something. And then I get in my head about, oh, I shouldn't let that, deter me. And lots of people are out driving and the tires are made for it and yada, yada. I'll just drive more carefully. And sometimes that works just fine. And other times, if there's a choice, I'll ask someone else to drive. Usually someone that I think is going to be a better driver or has a more reliable vehicle or whatever it might be. But that's an aspect where you say, like, hey, I prefer not to drive. Would you drive? Like, I really don't like driving on ice or snow. We tend to minimize it in some ways. We downplay it. I don't say, you know what, I suspect that if I drive, I'm probably going to die. I'm going to be one of those headlines of, wonderful person dies, leaving behind wonderful family, all because of some senseless road conditions. I don't really share that that's what's going through my mind. And so the people probably have no idea. They just think, oh, she doesn't want to drive in the dark or because she's old or she doesn't want to use the gas or whatever. Like whatever reason they perceive, they're probably not jumping to the point of where I'm at, which is I'm scared that if I go do that, I will end up in a horrific accident. And whatever it is we're going to, I really don't want to do that.
Well, yeah, and fear will deter us a whole bunch of things, and we can definitely do a topic of that another time because fear on its own is a great topic. Um, but yeah, people, because we're the ones experiencing the emotions, so if I say to you, I feel afraid, you're only hearing the words. And maybe because you're an in tuned individual, you're getting some of the energy associated with it. On my end, as the person expressing that I feel afraid, I feel the sensations associated with the emotions. Like I feel, the tightness in my body, the constriction. I can feel the elevation in my arousal level. I can feel my body getting ready to run and hide or whatever I need to do. So it's all that stuff backed into it as I'm expressing these words, but people only hear, I feel afraid. So they don't know the extent of the experiential aspect of it. Even if somebody says, like, we've had conversations, and like, I don't know if people can tell based on this, I'm much more animated around things. But like, if I feel excited about something, like, it's clear that, at least to you, that I feel very excited. And then when we would talk earlier on, like years ago, you would say, I'm excited about something, and I'd kind of look at you and I'd go, um, where's the excitement? And you'd go, this is excited for me. And I'd sit there and I'd go, okay. Because it would feel very different. And like this whole lens aspect to communication and how people receive and interpret what we're saying isn't just limited to, the miscommunications that feel bad. It's the miscommunications that people aren't understanding what we're going through or what we're experiencing, even on the positive end.
Mhm.
So it's very entertaining to see how the receiver's feeling it and the sender's feeling it, and just noticing the difference there and going, they're not going to understand because they're not experiencing it unless they
Mhm.
can go, oh, I know what that feels like because of my experience. But even then, is it the same intensity? We don't know. I don't know how many times I've told people that I
Yeah.
won't drive in the snow and they go, it's not a big deal. And I go, nope. But to them, it's like, I do it every day and it's no big deal. And I'll go, if I have to do it, I'll do it. But I just sit inside and say, no, thank you. Um, and that's it. Because to me, I'm confident with my driving ability. I'm not confident with everybody else's. So
And that's a fair point too. So you bring up a lot of really good points. I'm just trying to think which one I want to answer. I want to say hi to Anna, who's listening, gave us a wave. She's one of our top fans. I see she's got a little crown next to her name, so we're always happy to have Anna. And I'm really distracted because the fan is blowing like this one little group of hairs behind me, but it's too hot to not have the fan on. So, oh, all the little things about being on video. Um, I think the most important thing that I heard you say, Danai, was acknowledging how emotions show up in our body. And through coaching with people, that is something that not everybody is actually really familiar with. They have the feelings, but they don't understand how it's connected to the emotions themselves. And that means that sometimes when the feelings happen, it feels even more amplified, and the anxiety, that the fear gets even bigger because it feels unknown. Like, I don't really understand this, I don't feel I have any control over it, therefore it's even scarier. This void of lack of control over it really amplifies it. And a lot of the processes that coaching, psychologists, everybody will do help you to identify the connection between the emotion and the sensations in the body so that you understand you do have control. If you can't control the emotions, the thoughts, you can actually shift how it feels in your body. It gives you another angle to allow yourself to get to that point of feeling safe and secure so that you can think better, process better. Doesn't mean you have to make a different decision or whatever the topic may be, but it lets you release the idea that this is happening to me. And you understand, I am creating this, which means I can create something different. And when you aren't there, when you don't feel you have the tools to do that, it feels completely out of your control. So it makes sense that for many people, it makes such an impact over their lives. And as you were talking about, body sensations, I I don't necessarily have a fear of heights. I can go up in tall buildings. I do have a fear of falling from heights. And so, ski lifts, bungee jumping, hot air balloons, things that people love to do, often just watching someone do it makes a lot of sensations in my body, my stomach, my chest, my knees. It is pretty amazing how something like that can trigger the response in ourselves of if I were falling. And again, if I tell someone, I'm not interested in a hot air balloon ride or bungee jumping, I just usually say I'm scared of heights and it doesn't feel good for me. And they're like, oh no, you'd love it. It's so much fun. It's like, it really wouldn't be for me. Now, should I do it just to show myself? No, I don't think so. A lot of people say, oh, you should just try it and then you'll know for you. I could. Physically, I'm capable. If I was in, Amazing Race and someone said, I will give you $1 million if you bungee jump right now, I might do it. I would probably anticipate needing a lot of therapy after to get over it because it feels so bad in my body just imagining doing it that I don't think it's worth it. I really don't. So maybe that's a question that people could comment on of like, should you just do it if you're scared? And then you'll find out no big deal. Because I do have experiences about that from when I was young of something that scared me. I finally made myself do it and it was fine and it was fun. And then I did it more often. But it's, you know, I don't feel the need to prove myself to anybody anymore. And so that really does help. It's very freeing. I could just let it be okay that I choose not to go on really tall things. Now, I have gone on some ski lifts and, the the funiculars. I tell it's a challenge for me, but I often do, make myself feel better by saying, if people died on this every day, they wouldn't be able to like afford the insurance. So it's probably safer than I think. If that gets me to the top and the bottom, then we're okay. I used to be scared of flying because of it. And I did find a way to soothe that so that I fly now without any worry about falling out of the sky. But that used to be a very big deal for me. So we do all have these ideas and the feelings in our body. And I do think it's important to acknowledge how you feel might not be how someone else feels. And it gets to be okay. We get to be different. We don't have to, just say, oh, come on, just try it, you'll love it. If they want to, that's fine. But why would we need to pressure people into doing things, whether it's trying a food that they don't like or, bungee jumping or whatever it might be? It is fascinating to me how we really do want people to do what we want because we think they're going to perceive it through the same lens of enjoyment.
Yep.
So I'll pass it to you, Danay, for final words. That was that was a lot that happened.
Well, it'll be a little longer than final words, but it's an interesting thing because, the lens itself, one of the things that popped up while we were talking was this idea that you're somebody, and it's a wonderful characteristic. You're somebody that turns to logic to explain things in a way that's like, well, of course this doesn't make sense to bungee jump somewhere because that's going to mimic the feeling of falling to my death, and that doesn't feel good. And the fact that your body goes hell no is a great indication that it's a hell no for you.
Mhm.
Will it change? Maybe, but does it need to? No. But understanding we have lenses associated with our emotions and our experiences and how we think, what we
Mhm.
believe. Like, we're talking, around 20 minutes about this stuff, but we're only grazing the surface of it. There's so much depth to it, and complexity to really understand. We just want to give people like something to play on and understanding what lenses are you wearing? You know, how are your experiences? How are your emotions? How are your fears or your beliefs contributing to how you're receiving everyday information, not just how somebody's communicating with you? So it's very fascinating. Years ago, I said while I was doing a lecture to a psychology class, I said to them, I'm in a skydive and I was terrified. This was 3 years before I even actually did it. But I was like, yeah, I would like to do it. I also have a fear of falling from high places. But I also have like an adrenaline rush that happens when I'm in high places. That's like, this is really cool. So it's a little of a conflict, but my body gets all, when I see people do parkour on buildings, my hands start to sweat on their behalf. So um it's very entertaining for me to be like, when I said it in front of the lecture, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, I'm not doing it. Like every year I tried. And then one year I just said, essentially, F it, I'm gonna go and do it. And I did it. And it was incredible. Do I need to do it all the time? No. I did it again a few years later, but I don't need to do it all the time. And I didn't do it to prove it because I said I would. It just sounded like an interesting experience, and I'm glad I did it. But if I had made this proclamation and not done it, it wouldn't have mattered. It's just it's sometimes my way to declare something to encourage me to eventually do something that I actually want to do. Sheila wouldn't stand in front of a lecture hall and say, I'm going to go skydiving because she has no intentions in doing it. So, um, I think just to kind of round it out, and then you will wrap up and have Sheila say what she wants to say. Essentially, it's pay attention to how you're interpreting or translating the things that you're taking in, whether it's from somebody or an experience. Even your own thoughts, but maybe we save that for another time because there's a whole lot of juice in there. When somebody's speaking to you, give them the benefit of the doubt. They're speaking to you from a kind place. And if they're not, then it's up to you on how you're going to take the information, anyways. But if you just give everybody the benefit of the doubt and understand that when you're misinterpreting things, you have that awareness to lock into it and saying, oh, I'm misinterpreting it probably because of this lens or that lens, and really getting to know how you respond to your external world will have a massive impact on how you feel every day
Mhm.
because you're not going to be as activated by everything in the same way. So I will leave it at that. Sheila.
Yeah, no, I think good points and sprinkling some good seeds for future talks. And we want to hear from people who do end up watching this video all the way to the end. Like, what's your experience? And do you have any questions about how, in the moment, to shift and change, whether you are perceiving your own thoughts and feelings or wanting to understand others better so that that communication feels just more open and clean? It matters, and it really can make an impact to how you move through your day and with others. Um, it's worth it. And when we are just kind of on autopilot and not really being fully present to all the different layers that are happening and complexities, I think a lot does get lost in translation. There's no question. So awesome. Okay, well, thank you, Danay, and thank you, Anna, for watching, and anybody else who may have popped on but just didn't say hello in the comments. We'll try again for next week, maybe be a little earlier. There's always something. I'm not going to bore you with what happened, but yeah, we're getting it figured out, and I'll see if I can figure out how to change the name because we always have to go in afterwards and change it. But I bet there's a way. I am sure technology would let us make that something different. So. All right. Until next time, we'll see you soon.